Lady Talisa.
Your Grace. I'm not sure I'm a lady. Westerosi customs are still a bit foreign to me.
Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome back to another Game of Thrones or a Song of Ice and Fire video. And today I wanted to go over an older theory that's been around for quite a while, in the books at least. And we're going all the way back to the War of the Five Kings when Robb Stark was King of the North. Was Talisa a spy for Tywin Lannister? So, welcome back to SmokeScreen, everyone, and if you're finding me for the first time, feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. So let's jump right into it. So this is an older theory here. By no means is this new or fresh or original to me by any means. That's more than likely in the books accurate, and I'll explain that in just a second. But does this apply to the show? Was Robb's wife in the show, Talisa, working for Tywin Lannister in order to set up the Red Wedding and get him killed and betrayed by Walder Frey? So for a little setup here, in the books, Jane Westerling is actually the wife of Robb Stark, and this happens because Robb is wounded in battle, so Jane Westerling ends up tending his wounds in the books, and they have a little intimate night together, and he feels like he needs to marry her, and they do end up kind of falling in love. But the question is, was that set up? Now, I'm not saying Jane Westerling in the book has anything to do with Tywin Lannister's plans. I don't think she does. I think she was put in that situation, but I do think that happens to be from her mother. Her mother is Sybil Spicer from the books and is married to Lord Gawain Westerling, and essentially Robb makes the same mistake as he does in the show where he chooses love over duty. But in the books it's slightly different because I do think that her mother pretty much states that she was working with Tywin Lannister and essentially put them in that position to fall in love, so he would choose love over duty. It was actually the same mistake Ned made that led to his death, and of course we've heard from the show and books many times, love is the death of duty. So a little bit of book evidence supporting this is that Catelyn does describe Jane Westerling, and she describes her appearance as pretty, chestnut curls, heart-shaped face, that kind of thing, and slender, but with good hips. Now later on in the books, when Jaime actually captures Riverrun, he supposedly runs into Jane Westerling and her mother, but the way Jaime describes Jane does not match up to Catelyn's description, so that led to a lot of controversy as to whether he actually ran into Jane Westerling or not. But it turns out later on, I think back in 2011, that George R. R. Martin said himself that the hips description was actually a mistake. So basically the idea is if Jaime did not run into Jane Westerling, she could have potentially been pregnant, and they would have switched her out with somebody else for him to meet in order to protect her and therefore Robb's child and heir. But being that that was supposedly a mistake, it's more than likely that was in fact Jane Westerling and her mother that Jaime ran into, and her mother straight out says that she was working close with Tywin Lannister. And actually it goes a little further than that, because according to Lady Sybil, she likely made certain that Jane was not pregnant with Robb's child when Jane herself probably thought she was giving her something to make her fertile. She was likely giving her something to make sure she did not get pregnant in order to protect her, because of course if Robb Stark had a child, that would be the heir to the King in the North title at that point, and that would be another problem down the road for Tywin Lannister. And to kind of cap it off as far as the involvement of her in the books, as far as Jane Westerling's mother, Sybil, is that the Song of Ice and Fire mobile app states that her and her brother actually tricked Robb into marrying Jane by leaving Robb and Jane alone as much as possible, hoping that quote-unquote, nature will take its course. So whether this was done under Tywin Lannister's orders is still up in the air, or if Sybil and her brother worked on their own and then later allied with Tywin is still pretty much up in the air and unknown, but it is likely that she had some involvement and put her daughter Jane Westerling in that position in the first place to make Robb choose love over duty, which ended up getting him killed. But does that carry over to the show? Does that carry over to Talisa, who again is a show-only character, supposedly from Volantis? So of course in the show it's a little bit different. Robb comes across Talisa in the field of battle. She is a healer and comes across her treating the Lannister soldiers, and of course Robb notices her beauty and goes to help her actually cut off a Lannister soldier's leg to save his life, and that's how they meet. She's kind of a smartass. Robb finds her intriguing because she doesn't treat Robb, the King of the North at the time, with any kind of real respect as far as what she should do. But she claims to not really know Westerosi cultures because she is apparently from Volantis. So of course Robb becomes infatuated with her, and she's a little bit infatuated with him. They spend a little bit more time together, and of course she tells the story about her brother nearly drowning to Robb one night when he's asking how she became a healer in Westeros when she was a noble woman in Volantis, and Robb falls in love with her. Of course they have their passionate night in the show, and he says, "I don't want to marry the Frey girl, I want to marry you." And of course the rest is history. The Red Wedding happens, Robb and her and the child are all killed, which essentially ends the War of the Five Kings. So is there any evidence whatsoever in the show that Talisa is possibly a plant for Tywin Lannister, at least a spy, and sent there to kind of catch the eye of Robb to make him choose love over duty and not marry the Frey girl, which would open up the door for Walder Frey to cooperate with Tywin and actually kill them under guest right at the Red Wedding. So first of all, it was odd to Robb that some random Volantis girl, highborn Volantis girl at that, was some kind of healer over in Westeros, and that's what makes him ask the questions in the first place. But the biggest piece of evidence I think people point to who actually believe this is possible in the show is that she writes these letters supposedly to her mother, but she writes these letters in Valyrian, which is her mother tongue, and of course Robb can't read High Valyrian, and so therefore people think that she could have been writing letters back to Tywin Lannister, essentially right in front of Robb's face, and he would not understand what the hell the letter said, and he just assumed it was to her mother over in Volantis, so she could possibly get by with writing down what's going on in the camps, what's going on with the Stark movements, and send all that information to Tywin. And another piece of evidence, I suppose, is the fact that they actually tease this a bit in the show anyway.
I couldn't really discuss troop movements with you.
I'm not a spy.
Of course, a spy would deny being a spy.
You're right. You found me out. I'm writing a letter to the Lannisters. The young wolf is on the move.
Which essentially could mean that she's not lying and she's just kind of going along with the joke and actually writing a letter to Tywin Lannister right under Robb's nose. But in the end, after rewatching that scene where she tells her backstory, being from Volantis, she tells a story about why she's a healer in Westeros, being a highborn lady from Volantis, the backstory about her brother almost drowning and a slave saving her life, and that's what made her change her life and want to do something different to help people. I think her story is legitimate and sincere, and of course I think that's what makes Robb fall in love with her in the first place. So I don't buy in the show that she was writing letters to Tywin Lannister because of a couple reasons. Number one, it wouldn't make sense in the theme of the story. The theme is, in this particular instance, is love over duty, and love being the death of duty. So if it's not actually a love story, it actually kind of takes away from the story about how Robb died in the first place. The other thing is, in the show, she actually gets pregnant, and if she's working for Tywin Lannister, she knows she's putting her own life and her baby's life in danger. She would know that if their whole goal here is to kill Robb Stark or stop him, of course I guess it's possible she doesn't know the details of how this is going down. She could think she's just there to kind of be with Robb. Maybe she did accidentally fall in love with him, but it's possible that she thinks she's just going to report on troop movements, etc. But she may not know exactly what's going to happen at the twins when they go to the wedding after Robb had broken his vow to Walder Frey. But the main thing I think that kind of points to it being a non-issue in the show is it's an extremely implausible plan for Tywin Lannister to send a pretty girl from Volantis out in the field and actually meet Robb in the first place. It would take a lot of luck and perfect timing for Robb to come across her, see her, them start talking, start to like each other a little bit, and spend more time together, have that intimate moment, and essentially fall in love to make him break his vows in the first place. That takes a lot of extreme perfect timing, and it's really an unplausible, unlikely plan, and I certainly don't think, as smart as Tywin is, that he would bet losing the war against Robb Stark on a plan that simply relies on a lot of perfect timing and luck. And Robb would have to actually like her in the first place. Even if she is kind of noticeable because she is a beautiful woman out in the field, she kind of seems out of place, all the things that made Robb walk over and talk to her in the first place, it doesn't mean that Robb would actually like her in the first place. Robb was kind of taken aback and intrigued by her because she was kind of a smartass. She didn't treat him like the king of the north and call him your grace and all that kind of stuff. And that's actually what Robb liked about her, but there's no way that anyone, including Tywin Lannister, could ever plan on him actually liking her and following up on that relationship to open the door for Robb to break his vow for not marrying into Walder Frey's family, and therefore Walder Frey starting to work with the Lannisters and killing them at the Red Wedding. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this a show thing, or is this only a book thing? As far as Jane Westerling's mother, at least putting her in that position, I don't think Jane Westerling herself knows anything about the plan. But in the show, I don't think it's very plausible for Talisa to be a spy for Tywin Lannister, because again, it doesn't make a lot of sense as far as the plan itself. It would take too much luck and coincidence, and also it kind of takes away from the whole idea of why Robb lost and died in the first place, because he did, like his father before him, choose love over duty. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. And as usual, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon. And a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers, Lala Gig, Marylin Bentley, Colton, Goska, HoonJive, Horton, Erin Habig, John Carey, Anastasia, Jason Landers, DTizSmith, MJW, Carole Brown, D Brown, Mike Colton, Lisa Phillips, Alfred Borstmayer, Greene, and Ricky Corotte. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the support. And to everyone on YouTube as well. And if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and a share. And be sure to subscribe to get everything and click that notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.